Yeah, so there are some presuppositions which are widely shared among Muslims, and these presuppositions, when put together, lead to this sort of question that faces us at the moment. So one of the presuppositions is that God desires everybody to be Muslims. And then the question is, well, why isn't God doing more to get the message of Islam to the rest of the people? So we can question that presupposition. It's actually not a correct presupposition. It's a common one among Muslims, and it's often preached by Muslim preachers. But when we examine the matter more clearly, more carefully, we realize that God is more tolerant than the rest of us, and he allows for a wide variety of approaches to him. People are seeking God in many different cultures in many different ways, and God is accepting people from these various cultures, given their backgrounds and their level of understanding and what level of revelation from God they were privy to, and so on. We can well imagine that, let's say somebody grows up on an island, they have no interaction with anybody else, they have never received any message from God. That person, looks up into the sky and he sees the vastness of space and says, there is a God who made all this. And whoever you are, God, you must be up there somewhere, wherever you are. I want to reach out to you. So that person's devotion to God in that very simple way, without any of the what we might call the trappings of religion, we cannot see that God will turn away this individual. That would be like a slap in the face. So why would God? The Quran shows us, in fact, that God does not demand of any individual more than is within the capacity of that individual. And capacity is not only physical, but also mental. The Quran in Surah 5, verse number 48 says, لِكُلٍّ جَعَلْنَا مِنْكُمْ شِرَعَةً وَمِنْهَاجًا. For each one of you, meaning each your community, we have given a law and a path to follow. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَجَعَلَكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. Had God wished, He could have made you all one religious community. وَلَكِنْ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ فِيمَا آتَاكُمْ. But He has left it such that He may judge you according to what has reached you. So everyone is going to be judged according to what has reached them. So let's say some people got the Christian message, but not the Islamic message, and now they come up for judgment. So the question could very well be, did you follow the Christian message as it should have been followed? What was the original Christian message? Did you bother to investigate? Did you try to find out what was the correct message that you ought to have followed? And how sincere were you towards whatever you understood to be the correct message after your search and finding? So whatever the convictions people have, did they reach their convictions through reasonable methods, as opposed to simply taking any belief? Did they do their due diligence? Many D's, tongue-tied. So did they do their due diligence in finding the right way? And then once they have found the right way, did they sincerely follow that path for the pleasure of God? I think these are two very basic questions in religion.
So then why do you think that God sent messages then in the first place?
Well, let's say, let's try to imagine the scenario. Let's think we're, from God's point of view for a moment, let's say we're looking down on earth. God is not necessarily up there looking down. Think of it this way. So let's say we're having this bird's eye view of the earth, and we see that there is corruption on earth. So we want to minimize that corruption or end it altogether. So we're going to introduce light against the darkness that is there. But how much? That depends on a number of factors, what we're trying to accomplish. So with God sending a prophet, the prophet is going to bring light, and God is going to bring that light in a particular place, knowing that this light will have a radiating effect and transmit to other regions. We can almost think of it as a pool. Let's say we have a pool of water, and we want to color this water blue. So we can go about sprinkling the blue evenly all around the pool, or we can drop it in one place, knowing that it will have a rippling effect and eventually color the entire pool. So how does God do it? It looks like God does it by inserting the light or the message in one area, but with the imperative to preach this to other areas as well, knowing that eventually the message will get out to a greater or lesser extent. But God is doing it within God's wisdom to the extent that God feels is necessary at the time and place where God feels it's necessary. And it's not God's intention, apparently, to eradicate all evil, because if he wants, he could do that. He could make our world an angelic world. In the Islamic concept, the angelic world is a world of total perfection and obedience of God, whereas on earth, we have human beings, we humble folks who, we are prone to error. And God knows that. And it is said that to err is human and to forgive is divine. So it's his place to forgive, and it's on our nature that we're going to err. And he leaves it such. So there will be error, there will be false beliefs, there will be mistaken beliefs and assumptions and so on. People will reach out to God in ways which are not necessarily pleasing to him, but he will see the devotion and the sincerity that comes from them. And he's tolerant to all of that. He's accepting that. But every once in a while, when there is a need for introducing more light, he is going to send a prophet, or in the Islamic tradition, since our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, has been the last of all of the prophets, God is not going to send another prophet, but God might send inspired preachers to bring people back to the right path.